Hi guys, I'm back, and I know some of you are probably sick of seeing me today. If you've watched my earlier broadcast and the one before it, I wanted to do another American Gladio. This one's not so much about the deep state and things like that, and the secret agendas of the government, but I think there's plenty to do with it. Happens to be, if you saw my earlier broadcast about authoritarianism and why I'm opposed to it, I think that it's worth noting that a couple hours ago, I was yelled at by the same person I was arguing with about, authoritarianism. I think I mentioned that in the other broadcast. He was yelling at me that 5 million Ukrainians, yeah, they don't really amount to much. Very very telling statement from somebody like that 5 million Ukrainians don't really matter. Um, and I think that's one of the reasons that I focus so much on those historical, obscurities of these genocides that people don't know about, like the Holodomor in Ukraine. Those people should probably reassess why they consider themselves liberals if when I grew up, liberals were against genocides and against mass killings of innocent civilians. So, it was, and I am writing a blog post about it, but, you know, I'm not sure exactly how effective those things are. Just publicizing and, saying your own opinion. In the end, people have to listen, or they don't listen. If they don't listen, and they don't want to entertain the notion that they have this colossal blind spot to an injustice that's inconvenient to their own perspective of the world. Therefore, what's even the point of talking? I think that the reason that I'm talking and communicating with people is more to reach those that haven't been committed to either side of the political spectrum, and tell them, whatever your belief system is, whether you do believe in a more cooperative society, I think that you should at least consider, or if you believe in more of an individualistic society, like what I think, you should at least acknowledge that coercion and, the concentration of authority are one of the reasons that abuses continue to happen throughout the world. It doesn't matter what type of political system it's under. The more that you concentrate authority in the hands of so-called benign leadership, and then you start talking about the values of the whole, and talking about the sacrifices that individuals need to make for the common people, then you really start to get a lot of problems. And as long as it's voluntary, I think that we should reserve judgment. But when you have the state doing it, then it's not voluntary anymore. And that's my opinion on that. Now let's get back to NFL football. I only watched about 5 minutes of it. I did listen to about 20 minutes on the radio of the Dolphins-Chargers game. I think it's perfect poetic justice that the Chargers, a team that moved from the great city of San Diego to the dump that is Los Angeles. Sorry if I have any friends in LA, but you're not as good as San Diego. I think it's great that the Chargers blew the game to the Dolphins. Nothing against Phillip Rivers and the Chargers fans, but when you move your team, I think that you kind of deserve that type of tragic, tragic ending as they did against the Dolphins, a team. And I guess it's hilarious now that Jay Cutler, people were saying, oh, it's no. Why could it? How is it that he's signed and he's playing in the league this year when Colin Kaepernick isn't playing in the league this year? Well, I think technically, if you're talking about career accomplishments, they're about the same thing. So and Jay Cutler has a longer track record and at least a couple more seasons that were successful. I'm not going to say that he was a great quarterback, but he's not, well, okay, yeah, he's not a good quarterback, but he did win today. And I guess congratulations to the Dolphins, congratulations to the Buccaneers, a team that really fulfilled my expectations, given that they signed Deshaun Jackson, a great receiver. My fantasy team, by the way, got destroyed, absolutely destroyed. Why? Because I had Trent Williams and or Terrence Williams and Ezekiel Elliott on my starting roster. Both of those guys were completely shut down by the Denver Broncos, as was my team, the Dallas Cowboys. We were just obliterated by the Denver Broncos, and I think it's no consolation to me, but I did say that Trevor Siemian, who was a couple years ago, he was the third string quarterback for the Broncos, is he's setting himself up to be at least a candidate for for the comeback player of the year. If you really think about it, he ended last year on just a season-ending injury. This is a guy who he went to Northwestern. He was a 7th-round pick. He played behind Peyton Manning and Brock Osweiler, and then he won a Super Bowl as a third-string quarterback. Good for him. I'm sorry that it had to come at the expense of my team, and he absolutely torched us. But I think that this guy, he earned whatever is going on right now, and the Denver Broncos, they are making the AFC West. Along with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Oakland Raiders. The Chargers aren't an awful team, but I don't think they're going to win many games. The AFC West is the best division in football. The best division in football. You have amazing defenses in Kansas City and in Denver. The Oakland defense is also pretty good with Khalil Mack. I think Justin Tuck plays there too. And then you have spectacular offenses for all three teams have good offenses. I think Kansas City is the one with the least excitement. It's more of a run-based offense. Alex Smith, of course, had that game last week where he really scorched the Patriots. But he played well this week too against the Eagles. And of course, the Raiders. They've already proven that they are going to be a power for the next few years in the AFC West. So you have a 3-team race in the AFC West, one of the more ignored divisions in the league. And obviously, I'm pissed off. My team played like shit. I hope the Cowboys rebound next week. I don't even know who they're playing next week yet. But, for anybody who's interested, I think that it was an awful game and that, hold on, next week we're going to be playing Arizona. That might be a little better of a situation. They seem to have gone a few steps back since last year, even though they still have Carson Palmer. The other issue that maybe that makes me kind of a dick, but the Minnesota Vikings deciding to stay with Sam Bradford as starting quarterback, it was a mistake. And I said it last year numerous times that Sam Bradford, he shouldn't be a starting quarterback ever again. He is one of the reasons that every team that he's been on has just been a consistent disappointment. I don't know how many. Let me see here. I don't know how many playoff games he's played in. I think it's something like 0. But today he didn't play. He was injured. He had a knee injury. He's never, to my knowledge, played in the playoffs. He played in Philadelphia in 2015, I think that they missed out. They lost. They lost in the end. I think they got beaten by the Redskins in like one of the last games or something. And yeah, I think that Sam Bradford, he's a guy. This is a class. Why did I mention Simeon earlier and Bradford here? Well, you have these guys that they end up getting picked in the first round of the draft. Um, Sam Bradford was the #1 pick in 2010 for the St. Louis Rams, and he's yet to bring a team to the playoffs. The Rams ended up moving later, but forget that. He was traded to the Eagles. They didn't make the playoffs. Their coach gets fired. I think it was that season. Yeah, he did get fired that season. So then he gets picked up by Minnesota. Relatively good team, mostly because of their defense. And it's not that they don't have talent on the team. They have Adrian Peterson. They have Stephon Diggs. It's really just Sam Bradford. It is, in my opinion, just an insult to the fans of all these cities that they keep hiring this this disappointment. This guy who he was supposed to be the coming out of Oklahoma. He was supposed to be the new model quarterback, and they thought he would be, I guess, some sort of Steve Young or something. I mean, I remember very, very closely. Yeah, the fact is that Teddy Bridgewater was drafted by Minnesota. He should have been. I'm not sure why he's not playing this year. Maybe he's injured again. Yeah, it looks like he's injured for this entire season too. So, Sam Bradford is a placeholder on a team that's waiting for Teddy Bridgewater to come back, which is a pretty disturbing thought if you think about the fact that Bridgewater only played in, I think, oh no, he played in plenty of games in 2014, 2015. So yeah, he has some games under his belt. I think Teddy Bridgewater was a good pick for Minnesota, but because ultimately he has 17 wins in 29 games, that's still a good record. I don't think that Bradford quite has the same punch. Let me see his statistics here. There is no one-loss record on this one. Funny how that is. But yeah, okay. He's started 78 games in his career. He's never been to the playoffs. 1 year, 2014, he was injured the entire season. That's what Sam Bradford, in my opinion, and I'm being a dick about it, but I've been watching this situation for now. This would be the 9th year, and it's just how much is enough with this fucker. He keeps getting these starting gigs, and there's other guys who never get to start in their career. Think about Doug Flutie. I think he didn't get to start until like the 6th or 7th year of his career, or even I think for a while he was exiled to the Canadian Football League, and he set records and won titles there, like he was basically Shaft or something. So then now I guess I'm going to swing back to the political side of the spectrum here of the equation here. Let me just see if there is somebody talking in the chat. Let me mute this window. I know. Oh, Angel he just popped by to say that he likes my haircut. Well, I like your haircut too, man. I like yours too. So, anyway, moving on back to the political side, or social political side of the topic menu. I think there's an issue now. We'll get back to ESPN. There's the Emmys. I think they went on tonight. I don't think anybody gives a fuck. The Emmys are a joke. Let's see what's going on here. Maybe I'll catch some quick headlines on The Handmaid's Tale, Veep and SNL cleanup. Now, The Handmaid's Tale, I heard is really is a well-made series, so I'm not going to complain. The thing is that everybody tries this. It really is. They don't even need me. They just make everything political anyway. The Handmaid's Tale is, by the way, I haven't watched it, but from what I gather, it was kind of a metaphor. They were adapting the experience of a woman who visited post-revolutionary Iran to the West. So they were reversing everything. Instead of an Islamic theocracy where women are oppressed, it was a Christian theocracy where women are oppressed. And they're trying now to project it onto being something about the Trump administration. There's no comparison. I mean, who has ever seen women being shy in public in this administration? I see women, walking around all the time, basically dressed like they are, ready to step in a hot tub or something, and nobody says a word to them. It's very, this is beyond absurd. But again, everything's a metaphor because they don't even need the truth. That's the way that progressivism, progressive entertainment and society, they will never care if the reality that they are making fun of actually exists, because they're not even talking about a reality. It's what they do is they construct a reality in their mind that is more consistent with the way they feel the world should be, and then they complain about why it's not that way. See if we can get some Colbert lines from their Emmys. Diversity reigned over Trump as Big Little Lies. Let's see this opening monologue. I'm not going to play it live because, musical numbers, comma Trump jokes. Oh, you don't say. I didn't think that would happen. Anthony Anderson says he was glad that Colbert was selected as the white guy they have hosting this year's Emmys, while Janney bemoaned the state of the world, but Colbert insisted that TV has never been better, launching into a song about how everything is better on TV. In his musical number, Colbert proclaimed, "Troubles aren't so troubling when you see them in HD. The world's a little better on TV," as he danced through the sets of Archer, This Is Us, Stranger Things, Veep, and The Americans. And he remarked during Veep, "Imagine if your president was not beloved by Nazis," which with Colbert singing about how the FX show's stars were hotter Russian spies. Even treason's better on TV. Well, I have to say, Stephen Colbert, for example, he was, I think he declared before the show started, he didn't want Trump voters to watch the Emmys, which I don't think he needs to say. I think people have moved on. These awards shows don't mean anything to us. And his monologue and that display, and I haven't watched it. I'm just reading the transcript off of the Hollywood Reporter right now. It shows exactly how they think of the world. Everything's better on TV. Why is everything better on TV? Because we get to define it. We get to, in their mind, they get to tell the truth as they see it, regardless of what's going on outside. And I don't think that they care about the fact that this Russia investigation is just a complete joke. Nobody cares anymore. People want to really figure out how to solve issues that are going on. With widespread opiate addiction and environmental pollution. And I'm talking about people on the left too. They're tired of this bullshit, and they know that if you don't create a credible case in order to convict a person, then any further litigation of it is really just an egregious abuse of power. And Stephen Colbert doesn't care. Stephen Colbert doesn't care. These these other media figures that are now or entertainment figures, quote unquote entertainment, they're not concerned with entertaining the people anymore. They're concerned with entertaining their own fantasies about how the world is. And you can clearly see that in their behavior. He said everything's better on TV. Well, some of us can't get on TV, and we didn't work towards that. Stephen Colbert, I did a little reading about it. Stephen Colbert's dad was like a Yale Medical School dean. This isn't somebody who came from the downtrodden of America, and I'm not saying I mean I didn't come from a great background, but I'm certainly not from the academia, medical academia or anything. I'm come from a more middle class, lower middle class background, you could even say. Immigrant, first generation immigrants. Colbert's parents are from a long line of people. They settled in South Carolina from in the 19th century, I think, or even earlier. The point, but the reality is that these people in the entertainment world, a lot of them, I'm not going to say all of them, but a lot, hashtag not all, a lot of them come from that segment of society that has always been comfortable. They've always pushed their kids to, to seek gratification of their own egos. You see, I mean, there's all these stories now with Aaron Carter, his fucked up life. And, Sinead O'Connor is a lot more of a sad story because she really did have a horrible childhood. But you see a lot of these entertainment superstars. Did you think that Philip Seymour Hoffman was I think what was he, a heroin addict when he died? I didn't know that, but it makes a little sense. But even people who have grown up in the greatest circumstances, like Colbert, will portray themselves as the members of this resistance. They're not in a resistance. If they were in a resistance, they wouldn't be hosting a primetime awards show for one of the largest communications industries that there is. And they wouldn't be invited to parties and hobnobbing with the most elite of society. That's not what a resistance is. I'm sorry. And I don't care if there is a postmodern definition of it. A resistance is a group of people that they fight against the established order in government. And what these people are doing, they're not doing that. They're trying to restore the old order in government. They're actually what you would probably call, loyalists or legitimists. What they want is similar to what happened in 17th century England when the king was deposed. King Charles, I think, was the one that, or King James the First, I think, was the one who was executed by the Protestants. He was one of the last Catholic monarchs of England and England, Scotland, and Ireland. This was before the United Kingdom. Nerd fact: the United Kingdom was formed in 1700. This happened in 1640 something. The king of the Catholic king was executed, and afterward there were all of these loyalists, many of them Catholic, but some of them nobles, things like that, and they fought to restore the monarchy, and and when it was restored, I think it was in 1662. It was called the Glorious Restoration, or just the Restoration. Then in like I think it was 1700 or so, after Charles II's daughter Anne died, Queen Anne, after she died, she didn't have any kids. There was the Protestant Glorious Restoration when the Stuart dynasty was deposed. But fuck it. That's a little too much inside baseball on British monarchy than you need to know. But what these people were trying to do was restore a political order. They weren't trying to create a revolution. They weren't resisting an establishment or resisting even an occupation. They were for an order that was convenient for them, and that's what it was for Colbert and many of his similar peers under President Obama. You can see that in all of these shows that are going on right now with not just his, I mean, there was the show that he used to have, the Colbert Report. There's the Daily Show with Trevor Noah. There was the Nightly Show canceled. There was Full Frontal with Samantha Bee. There is, what's that guy's name? Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. How many of these people, how many of these can there be? And you can call it a resistance. They do whatever the fuck they want. They're not resisting anything. There's no resistance. In order for there to be a resistance, there has to be an action against them. And these people, they have all of the latitude that they need. You even have wacky characters like Keith Olbermann that are trying to copy them outside of TV. And it's just too much. I think people are tired of it. And I think he didn't have to say that about the Emmys in order for it to happen. People are tired of your bullshit. They're tired of hearing your crap. And you're not, it's all the same selling out nonsense. Honestly, how long do you think that this nonsense can go? He did make like a couple funny ones. He said that Joe Arpaio was host of next year's Latin Grammys. That's kind of funny. Bill Maher says, I assume he's black since he's so comfortable using the N-word. So this isn't, I'm not going to say that he's not good at comedy, because he's able to it's not, I did like Stephen Colbert, but I'm tired of this bullshit. It's the same thing with Jim Jeffries. Jim Jeffries was probably one of my top 5 favorite modern comedians right now, until he started getting more and more just blatantly political and obsessed. I just don't see why it's so funny anymore. Nobody cares. And there's tons of people that do the same thing. You become a success when you do something unique, and they're not doing anything unique anymore. Check the chat. Nope. So next topic, leaving behind Colbert, and I hope eventually, obviously I think he deserves some sort of repercussions in terms of his career for what's going on. I think people should just stop watching his show, and then eventually it'll be a failure, and that'll be it. But if I was really honest, I would have wanted Stephen Colbert to succeed. I thought he was a great comedian before this, and if he decides to change his shake it up a little, do a little more variety, I'd be fine with him having a success. I think that I'm a freedom of speech absolutist, even when it's freedom to be a retard. Getting back to a sports topic, Major League Baseball, you had the Indians' winning streak just snapped. That is, I think, one of the greatest accomplishments in baseball for the past 10, 15 years. I do live in the Cleveland area, so a lot of people are excited about it. I think they do have a chance of winning the World Series this year. I happen to be a Cubs fan, but I think the Indians have a fantastic chance, probably better than any other team in the American League, of winning the World Series. And I think they will be the favorite too to win it when the playoffs start. And I'm not being precocious about it. They have to be the hottest team right now in all of baseball, bar none. And they're going to go into the playoffs like that. There's nothing anybody can do about it. They're almost unstoppable, and the rest of the American League should probably watch out. other stories going on like that. I mean, the Cubs are going to probably make the playoffs. You have who is it? The Nationals, I think, are coming out of the NL East, and then you have the Dodgers, of course, and then you had a fantastic season from a couple other NL East teams. The Diamondbacks. I think the Rockies dropped off a little, or what is it vice versa? So, yeah, the National League. I think we're setting up to see something like the Nationals versus Cleveland, or other than that, I don't know who's. I mean, the Dodgers are a good team. They just haven't been playing that well lately. I think they did right the ship a little, but they were in a bad way about a week ago. So that's enough about that. The Jamelle Hill incident. I'll go a little at length. I hope let's say 8 minutes about this because I do want to watch a little Trailer Park Boys tonight. But think about what's going on here. If you're wondering what's going on in the heads of these ESPN people, they're probably feeling like one of those explorers in the jungle that gets caught by a boa constrictor, because they have this Jamelle Hill, and then they have their audience. Now, I think that there's plenty of people who are on the progressive side that they're willing to give lip service to Jamelle Hill in her battle with President Trump, insulting him and just constantly calling him white supremacist. And they think, oh, we are the principled people. They don't care about the fact that other people have been fired from ESPN for things that are far less egregious. There's a Kurt Schilling thing. Maybe that did violate ESPN's policy, but what about Linda Cohn, who was suspended for just talking a little about ESPN's financial problems? She was suspended, and Jamelle Hill, almost nothing happened with her except for mealy mouth apology and a statement that ESPN understands the gravity of it, and they've spoken to Jamelle Hill. And then there's these rumors that she was fired, and when her co-host refused to go on the air, they scrambled and couldn't find anybody else, so they brought her back. I don't know if that really happened. It'll be very funny if it did, because in my opinion, it serves the goals of creating a free media if ESPN keeps Jamelle Hill. And why do I say that? It probably sounds a little retarded that keeping this this banshee would actually mean that you're sustaining a free media. Well, hold on. ESPN is a Disney corporation. It's part of the larger conglomerate, a mass communications media, mainstream media, most people call it. And ESPN will never be redeemed into being a network or communications medium that truly reflects a free society. It is a corporate shill factory, and it has been for a long time. At least at some time, it was focused on the subject matter. People tuned in, they wanted to watch whatever it was, tennis or I don't think they did the Olympics, but they had soccer. Good. I think people should have had the option of watching soccer on TV. Eventually they got the NFL. They did a shitty job compared to ESPN of putting on Monday Night Football. Those of you that remember Monday Night Football on ABC, ESPN has totally destroyed it. It is a joke compared to what I grew up with. When I grew up, Monday Night Football was every week one of the best shows you would watch. It was really an atmosphere. On Sunday afternoon there was John Madden, and on Monday night there was Al Michaels. Fantastic host. And earlier generations will remember Howard Cosell. ESPN destroyed that. They took a fucking mace and swung free and destroyed it. They got rid of the Hank Williams song. Remember the Monday Night Party song? because of some remark he said about President. Isn't it ironic? Think about it, that Hank Williams made an analogy that Barack Obama and Netanyahu meeting was like, or no, it was Barack Obama and John Boehner meeting was like Hitler and Netanyahu meeting. And he said it was an analogy. I don't mean that Obama was Hitler. He's just saying it's an analogy that doesn't make any sense. And they dumped his song, and he's not even a Monday Night Football contributor. All he does is do the theme song. That's what he did. So they fired him, and they put in Faith Hill. Not a bad song, but it was already, tainting the product. And just kept getting worse and worse and worse. All they would do is bring in these talking heads. It was almost like you were getting a show from, it was like, jocks trying to do one of those talking head shows from C-SPAN or something. You had, and it's no disrespect to like Donovan McNabb and some of the other analysts. Schilling was also good. I think McNabb does a fantastic job for what it's worth doing sports analysis. He, by the way, was wrongly, just criticized by Rush Limbaugh back in the day. I think Donovan McNabb deserved a lot more respect than he got from Rush Limbaugh. But McNabb, they brought in Skip Bayless, the clown prince of sports talk, and that's not in a good way. The man was just an idiot. And they brought in Stephen A. Smith, another moron. There was Pardon the Interruption. That was a pretty good show. Dan Levitard. I never liked that show. And he's a guy who's politically a little more to the right than the other people. His show was crap. It made no sense. It was literally garbage. I don't know how he really tried to sell it on TV. It was like him and his dad sitting there and just commenting and asking athletes these stupid questions. No, I think that ESPN lost its way a long time ago. If you want to do fine. If you want to do more collegiate sports and just feature the lacrosse teams or whatever, I think that's fine. And what they did instead was go the whole hog on all these contracts with the NBA and the NFL. Major League Baseball, I think they had a better deal, but the ESPN, they flew way too close to the sun. They thought that their sports event broadcasting would sustain them, and in reality, people stopped watching a lot of that too. They realized, for example, there was the massive increase in cable subscription prices. There was the issue of I think ESPN just made it that much more expensive, just so that they could cover the cost of all the money that they throw at these leagues like the NFL to provide coverage, NFL and the NBA. And how would they have known that the NBA regular season would end up being virtually meaningless and nobody cares because it's always the same couple teams that make it to the finals, and all the other teams are basically there to sell sneakers. That was their misfortune. So the NBA shit didn't take. If anybody wants to watch an NBA game, they don't turn on ESPN. They'll wait for the TNT game to see Charles Barkley. And anybody will tell you that is the best game in the NBA. And if you want to talk about what's the best NFL game, I think you turn on either Sunday Night Football or Sunday 4:30 game. Those are usually the best games of the week. So ESPN, in terms of that, they shat the bed, and then you have these wackos like Jamelle Hill pretending that I'm in the media, so I need to have a social conscience, and I have to raise awareness of bullshit that I think is true. with what I really am. Computer processing. Think I'm back. Hi guys. Hi y'all. I know Lionel Nation, who I trolled a couple of days ago, he hates it when anybody says hi guys. So I'm just gonna say hi guys randomly. I'm back, everybody. Yes, the the ESPN is a joke. You had this league or this network. They have this clown, Jamelle Hill. Nobody watches SportsCenter anymore. You used to be people would watch SportsCenter sometimes twice a day. Nobody watches it anymore. You can just go online, have fucking Bleacher Report tell you everything you need to know, everything, and you know everything about what you care about, not what the network cares about. Why do you even need SportsCenter? SportsCenter was from an era when you didn't have things at the touch of your finger, so you had it up on the screen. That was the greatness of SportsCenter, and the people were more entertaining too. They were more pithy. They had a better, you know, they had a snappier way of delivering the news. It was fantastic. Stuart Scott, Dan Patrick. You had Rich Eisen. I remember all of them pretty good guys. Linda Cohn, fantastic job. I can't complain. What happened to those people? They phased them out and they brought in these, you know, these cardboard cutouts like Jamelle Hill, who thinks that I'm a minority, bring a different perspective. Your perspective isn't really that different from a lot of other people that are into this whole social commentary bullshit. There's just so many that I don't care what background you come from. You're basically the same. You know, they put on. There's a lot of people, and you know, I don't care if it makes me, you know, come off in a certain way that you know it's intolerant. But there's a lot of people in the news like Jamelle Hill. There's Jamelle Bowie, appears on TV too. He's a reporter for Slate also, and this is a guy. Jamelle Hill is a girl. Jamelle Bowie is a guy. At least I think they identify that way. And they think, oh, we're such smart people. We're such. I mean, let me look up. I don't even know if they're going to have articles on these people. Jamelle Hill. Just gonna look up her show. SportsCenter at 6. I think her co-host is Jay Harris. But anyway, I mean, I know this is like riveting, you know, entertainment, but it's better than SportsCenter at 6. Me just looking at the screen trying to read about SportsCenter at 6 is about as entertaining as SportsCenter at 6. No, these people, they're all about the social justice and whatever. I've said, and I don't think Jamelle Hill is the worst case. She's just a complete idiot, and you know, she doesn't know how to like fucking keep a lid on it a little. You know, at least a little self-control. You're getting paid to comment on sports. You're not getting paid to argue with assholes about politics. So maybe a little perspective here. When you call the president of the U.S. a white supremacist, and the rest of you know, other people, they can't even talk about anything. Doug Adler, I listen to the Larry David show once in a while, you know, when I'm driving home. Doug Adler, a tennis broadcaster, tennis color commentator, he said something about the gorilla stance or the gorilla approach with talking about Serena Williams. He got fired because they thought it was gorilla like the animal. It was gorilla like, you know, gorilla fighter. You know what I'm talking about? That he was fired for that. I mean, that's a true story. You can look it up. Doug Adler fired for saying the word gorilla. It's ridiculous. And then they think, oh, but Jamelle Hill should have, you know, she should have the freedom to say whatever the fuck she wants. Okay, well, you can live with that, ESPN. I think that you're seeing and you're reaping the fruits of what you've sown. Now, why is it that they're not? Why is it that they're not yanking the cord on Jamelle Hill if, like I'm saying, she's such a toxic cocktail for them? You know, the toxic cocktail for me is an appropriate. It's an appropriate analogy here. A toxic cocktail is a, you know, just an expression I made up last year to talk about the interaction between the hardcore left-wing racial identity group of Black Lives Matter and the mainstream Democrats who are trying to pretend that they're helping them and they're on their side. It's the same thing with ESPN. They have these hardcore identitarian frauds that are usually, you know, black people or minorities from the middle class, or just white people from the middle class that have strong liberal progressive ideals, that they're living in an alternate reality. They themselves have never had to deal with true adversity, so they invent adversity in order to fight it. And then you have an establishment that needs these people because they need to, they identify with those people. They can't go the other way because otherwise they would lose those people. But they don't realize that now they've committed so much to these frauds and their constituency, you know, the fake liberals, that they don't have a hope of getting conservative viewers back. Conservatives aren't going to go back to watching ESPN, but there's already better resources than it. Pro Football Talk. I could log on to Pro Football Talk. Fantastic. You can go on. There's plenty of blogs on tennis. There's plenty of blogs on hockey. There's plenty of blogs on any sports topic that you want, cricket, whatever the fuck you wanna watch. So ESPN doesn't offer anything that's really advantageous. So, you know, they're not going to get any of those viewers back, at least not doing anything like what they're doing right now. People are cutting the cord anyway because it's just too expensive. So instead, they need to fight for the few viewers that are on there to watch Jamelle Hill and similar morons, you know, spout off and say, you know, why can't Kaepernick get a job? Why is it that you have, you know, there's not enough coaches in the league that are diverse? Why can't the female referee get any respect? That's their subject matter. You think people really want to tune in to TV to watch that? No, they're going to tell them to go fuck themselves. And it's the same thing with some of these radio hosts. This Amy Lawrence was the one I think I noticed first. She started saying, you know, Michael Sam got drafted, so I want to hear people call in and give their opinions, except if they're opposed to the drafting of Michael Sam for a reason. You know, if you're going to disqualify an opinion, then you're just going to have nitwits like you call in. So why do I want to have to listen to an idiot like you talk to yourself? And that's all I have to say now today about the liberal establishment communication system. So have a great night. This is Ramon Bold Like a Leopard. Thanks for watching again, and comment, share, and like this video, and subscribe to my channel.